My origin story started in Budapest, where I was born and raised, and I had a great family. Um, I have a younger brother, and one thing that really characterized my family was the openness to other people, and I think part of it was because my father was a seaman traveling all around the world, all around the globe on a commercial ship, and he always brought back something, stories, spices, whatever it was, presents. And early on, at the age of 7, we moved to North Africa for 2 years. That was also obviously a huge change, but also extremely inspiring for me. It opened up my little world. And when I came back, I was already a different person. I knew that you can look at things from many different angles, and just because we do things in a certain way doesn't mean that that's the right way or that's the ultimate truth. Again, because of my father, I started sailing. He was also sailing. I started very early at the age of 8. And at the age of 10, I started racing throughout until I was 20. And that, again, that was, I would say that's like one of the most important, influential component of my origin story, of who I am, basically. I'm a sailor. I'm a lifelong sailor, for sure. But what it means to me is responsibility in my decisions. I sailed solo for most of the time, so you have different kind of boats. I really liked solo as well, but when you are sailing solo, there is just no one to blame. You have to take it all, the success too, but the hardship and decisions and everything. The other big lesson I learned there, which is also part of my origin story, is there are always greater forces around you. You cannot be the top force in the universe. But so you need to be humble and you need to understand the context in which you operate. I wanted to be a sailor, by the way, a seaman. I was on the National League, so I had a very good chance to be a pro. I didn't become a pro because I think mainly, looking back, I think mainly because of money issues. As I grew up, sailing was cheap in Hungary, but then the Iron Curtain came down and a new world has started in the early 90s, which was my teenage years. And suddenly everything became very expensive. And at that time, there were no sponsors. This whole sponsorship story was totally unknown here. So basically, from one day to another, I would have to come up with a pro budget, which I didn't have. So that was actually very, very tough for me because I couldn't imagine that I will do anything else ever. Fun fact, after I accepted this, that my life will not be continued as a pro sailor, I actually didn't visit the lake for 6 years. I couldn't go there at all. And I cut off all my relations to sailing at Lake Balaton, at least. I still went to the sea. And then I really didn't know what to do with my life in terms of, occupation or mission or whatever. And I was a very introverted person. So my friends would tease me like, what kind of job would be the most far-fetched idea for Karoly to fulfill? And they were jokingly saying, you should be a salesperson, because as an introvert, it would be super challenging. And they picked some of the advertisement and they said, let's make a bet. If you apply for this sales job, then you get, I don't remember, maybe 4 beers for free. If you go to the interview, you get, I don't know, 6. And if you get the job, then you have free beer for 1 month. So I went there, I applied, I went to the interview, and for some strange ways of life, I got accepted, and that's how I started my career. That was actually a Danish company, operating in Hungary, manufacturing and exporting candles. I knew nothing about sales. I knew nothing about trade. I knew nothing about nothing. I just knew sailing. But the owners were two young Danish guys, were very, very open with me. They represented a culture and a mindset that was unknown to me before, like a trust-based relationship paired with accountability. I had to make myself accountable for everything, but otherwise they would trust me. And that inspired me a lot. I wanted to bring out the best in me. So I discovered slowly but surely that I'm making progress. I'm bringing in money for the company. I'm acquiring clients, and eventually I find out that I'm quite good at this. I still had my own ways. I was not like the typical American vacuum cleaner agent that knocks on your door. I was more the consultative sales guy, like good listening skills, understanding what really motivates the other person, not just in general, but on that particular day. And then from there, I figured if I can do this, there must be another industry in which I can earn more. So IT was a new thing at that time. So I went to IT sales, and that's why I discovered software and all that. This is how I started my career. I got into venture capital by accident, probably. I spent about 15 years working for international companies all across the globe, basically. I have worked in 50 countries. I've lived in 5 different countries, lots of traveling. For family reasons, I had to spend more time in Hungary, and I got hired by a holding company which also had a venture capital arm. And I was pretty bored in Hungary, to be honest, at that time after all the traveling. But then I realized that so many people are reaching out to me for advice on how to go to market in the US or Western Europe and so on. And I discovered that there is something common in these companies. They are all startups. And that's when I discovered and learned about venture capital and startups. And I was very happy with that because I discovered the whole industry that rewards my risk-taking appetite and my focus in building. And I got myself immersed into that sector. And then moving away from that company, I've built up my own consulting firm with 2 other co-owners. And we together initiated the launch of Vespucci Partners, venture capital firm in Budapest. And then from that moment on, in the last decade, I spent in the VC and startup ecosystem. And I think I have sat at each side of the table. I tried myself as a startup founder and co-founder. I founded a startup accelerator. And by now, I played a key role in launching 3 venture capital firms. So having a decade of experience in venture capital and startups, one learning that arises above all for me is the method of how you actually build successful companies. And what stands out to me is the limitations of the startup and the gap between what they would need in order to actually build what they want to build. And usually what's missing is it's not the money, but it's more like the people, the talent. And that's why I like the venture studio model, because it's all about co-building with the right people. So at my last job at OUVC, we started to explore building up the venture studio. But over the last couple of months, I spun out the venture studio and started to build it together with Timon, my co-founder, business partner. And when it all comes together, having this 25 years of experience, it's business, how you build international companies. it's investments, it's the co-building. It sounds simple, but as simple as it is, it requires the right set of people actually taking the risk together instead of just advising.